Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley.
I'm Mica.
It's another edition of Hey, what crazy thing will Nintendo patent next? And, well, this one arrived before E3, so it's like Christmas in April.
Yay! New patents filed by Nintendo have just been published by the U.S. Patent Office this week and subsequently discovered by gamers.
Of course.
Yeah, of course, showing off some potentially exciting local multiplayer possibilities.
Of course, speculating on Nintendo patents is one way to drive yourself a little bit batty if you want to. I mean, look, this could all just be an idea that the company never ends up using.
However, given some of the recent ambitions around the Switch, there's also a chance this patent is outlining either some new functionality for the platform or maybe even giving us an idea of what they're thinking for a future dedicated handheld device.
Look, we got a lot out of the then NX, now Switch patents. Those were the gift that kept on giving.
Yeah.
But before we speculate about what all this could mean, let's talk about what the patent is and what it covers, because that's kind of important. It was filed last April to the U.S. Patent Office and published just this last week, revealing some kind of device with multiple screens that have a plurality of information processing apparatuses that are capable of communicating with each other.
Ah, yes, of course, those. Based on the language and the diagrams included in the patent, the processing apparatus are located in each of the separate screens. Touch one and the other screen knows about it. So when combining the screens, touch information can be transferred from one to the other to enable brand new gaming possibilities.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
A less technical way of saying that, and well, the main example illustrated multiple times in the patent would be to imagine dragging something between two touch screens without the game losing track of what you're doing between them, since they're always talking to each other.
Which is super cool. And what's more, according to the patent, the two screens don't even have to be physically touching in order to relay this information, meaning you could separate them across the room.
What about the world?
Or the world, and still drag and drop from one to the other. It would just be one really hard swipe to make it from here to China.
The uses of this, as outlined by the patent, would be more varied than just dragging and dropping. Now, one diagram shows a Pong-like setup with the ability to bounce the ball off an invisible edge between the two screens to a different edge on the other screen, with the game figuring out the path the ball traveled between the two devices on its own.
Rather interestingly, another diagram showed off a mechanism that put the two screens together as one folding screen, without any kind of bezel or edge separating them like you would find in the 3DS. So big screen!
Still more illustrations showed what could happen if you chain 4 of the screens together.
Huge screen!
Dragging items along a whole row of screens with ease with just a finger, or you could combine multiple screens to complete a picture or a puzzle. It's the most expensive puzzle ever, probably. Really, the options kind of nuts, and open up to the potential for a lot of interesting local multiplayer gaming experiences, which sounds very Nintendo.
However, if you think those Joy-Cons are expensive now, can you imagine buying extra screens? Yikes. So, of course, the big question after seeing these documents, is this something the company could be planning for the Switch or something new entirely?
Yeah, we do know Nintendo's aggressively looking for new hardware attachment ideas for the Switch. Just in the last week, they announced, along with a San Francisco-based venture capital firm, they're on the hunt for creators to pitch innovative peripherals. The idea is that all these inventors would pitch their ideas directly to Nintendo in Japan later this year, and then Nintendo will brainstorm some cool new game experiences around those ideas.
And you don't have to look much further than the upcoming release of Labo to see Nintendo is totally okay with thinking outside of the box, but
That's this week!
Yeah,
that's Friday!
That's super close.
We should have a build-along stream.
We should.
I'm gonna find some Labo. But the problem with all of this is the idea might not be all that practical for the Switch. I mean, for starters, look, you need multiple Switches present in order to even be able to make use of it, and none of the current Switches, because they don't have that. Although it is one way for Nintendo to reach the goal of getting multiple Switches in every household.
More importantly, the Switch hardware itself doesn't have any way of tracking this kind of information across space except via the Joy-Cons, and none of these diagrams seem to know that this would need some kind of controller or other attachment to make the functionality work.
Which then leads us in the direction of speculating more. This patent is for a future iteration of either a 3DS or some new piece of dedicated handheld hardware. Maybe they think that the 3DS is sort of like run its course and they're looking for the new hotness. A lot of that's because, well, one of the diagrams in particular, which showed 2 of the screens attached together into unfoldable screen, would be great for on-the-go multiplayer experience.
Absolutely. The diagrams also seem to indicate that whatever this is, the two screens always exist with one another, even when more screens are present to chain things together. The illustration always shows them in pairs.
The idea of a device that pairs 2 screens, which can then be detached from one another, does seem like an evolution of what we might expect from the dual screen model of the 3DS, and it's also a very Nintendo direction to take the system. It iterates and refines on what's come before and adds something weird and new.
However, it is hard to imagine just yet that this is a hint at a future 3DS successor. Nintendo has been a bit reluctant to move away from their handheld at the moment because, yeah, honestly, it's a cash cow.
It makes so much money.
So much. However, they're starting to show signs that they're open to it, in part because of the success of the Switch, but also because the 3DS is starting to show its age. Mine is creaky.
It's not only that, the screen is like 240p?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit higher, but not much.
Yeah.
And you can see the age too with the most recent Pokemon titles. Now that Nintendo's confirmed that a mainline Pokemon experience is indeed coming to Switch, rumored this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. They're demonstrating that they're willing to break from some of their more traditional views about what constitutes a handheld title versus a console title.
Thank goodness, because I'm playing Ultra Sun, and man, when there are more than one Pokemon on screen, that game just slows the hell down.
That's saying something.
Yeah. To be fair, they were communicating very carefully about that for a long time because they didn't want to give the 3DS owners the idea that their purchase was dead and that they were wasting money and they're never going to use it again.
Well, they can always make some more games, but wind it down, potentially. One other final possibility is maybe this is some kind of mobile patent. In a lot of ways, you laugh, but it could happen. A lot of ways the technology would be possible across something like two cell phones playing the same Nintendo game or using the same app, and they are trying to do weird, new, experimental things with their mobile games. Like all the loot boxes they just added to Animal Crossing.
Let's not talk about that. Let's just laugh about the fact that we could possibly get a Nintendo-branded cell phone, and I would be a sucker and buy that.
Very revolutionary.
Whatever the case, as always, this is just an application. Nintendo might not win the patent, or they might not ever do anything with it. The company has patented some pretty wacky stuff in the past year that never really saw the light of day, like robot legs.
Those could still happen.
Those could still happen, or that really weird U-shaped motion controller they patented back in 2016, or both.
Look, honestly though, with Nintendo, you never know. It could be for the robot legs, it could be real, it could be not real. What do you guys think of this dual screen gaming device Nintendo has patented? Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on whatever Nintendo cooks up next and what I will probably buy because I'm a sucker, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the Now.
Welcome to the No, I'm Ashley.
I'm Mica.
It's another crazy edition of No, I'm Gonna Go Back.
Around the Switch, there's also a chance this patent is outlining either some new functionality for the platform or maybe even giving us an idea of what they're thinking of for a future deactivated handheld device. I said deactivated.